Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for attending. This is NCRA's TRAIN program, and it precedes the bulk of the boot camp program, which will take place over the next 3 days. But this is NCRA's really newest initiative, and it's a grassroots nationwide real-time training program. And this committee here has been hard at work. We have Sue Terry, Regina Tell, Tony O'Neill, Sarah Nadgett, Ron Cook, and Viola Zabrowski. And there's also Lisa Knight and Linda Kaiser, and I'm missing one, and Mary Brzezinski on the committee. So the committee's been very hard at work, and they've put together a really interesting program, and I know they'll be around all weekend to talk about it. So without further ado, here they are.
Thank you, Adam. As Adam said, I am Sarah Nadgett. I am one of your NCRA directors on the board, and I want to welcome you. It's always difficult to have a seminar at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, so I thank you all for being here, and really, you're going to have a great couple of days here, and NCRA thanks you as well. First, I would like to get started by a couple things. If you have questions, we're really going to ask you to write them down, and at the end, we want to leave some time for a little give and take. Also, there's a half-hour break after this seminar and the start of boot camp, and we will be available to answer any questions. We'll also be available throughout the next couple of days as well. So if you have anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask us. We will be here. So what is TRAIN? With the last 2 years, the NCRA board embarked on a Writing Our Future program. And one of the major findings from the Writing Our Future is that NCRA must do everything within its power to encourage more court reporters to become real-time capable. So we formed the Grassroots Real-Time Training Task Force, and out of that, you have TRAIN. And what it is we want to encourage reporters around the country to set up small group trainings. And this has been done in many states successfully, and you will hear about that throughout the rest of the morning here. So NCRA wants to be at the head of that, and we want to help each and every state, but we really need the grassroots, the members, and the state leaders to encourage this and make it happen. So why real time? And you've really heard this over and over, and you're probably sitting there thinking, how long have we heard about real time? Is this going to be anything different? So why real time? You make more money. You can make more money. It's a premium service. It commands higher fees, more business referrals, and it puts you in lines for promotions. A lot of times we are hearing now that attorneys that are introduced to real time are asking for real-time reporters, not so much because they want the service, but because they know that the real-time writers demand a higher quality, and they want that quality. And you save yourself time and money. You reduce transcription time by as much as half. Has anybody that provides real-time to themselves noticed that you are reducing your transcription time? Mm-hmm. Yes. The quicker turnaround time by your scopists. They don't have to work as hard. If you're changing things on the fly and you're watching your screen as you go in the courtroom or on the deposition site, your scopists are turning out those transcripts as well, faster for you. And that frees up your time. So what do you do if you have more time? You can enjoy life a little bit, enjoy your kids a little bit. Court reporting does not have to be a tiring and exhausting career. We can enjoy life, and real time will help that happen. The marketplace is demanding real time. We are in a world today of we want it and we want it now. So real time makes that happen. The rough ASCIIs, if you're providing real time to yourself, even if the attorneys are not getting that, or the judges, but they want something at the end of the day that they can work off of to prepare for the next day, it's cleaner because you're looking at it throughout the day. Daily copy, that's more and more happening where they want it right now, and they want the final product. And it also puts you in line for carton captioning careers. Carton captioning careers, that's instant, obviously, the captioning on TV. And if you're a real-time reporter, you can go achieve to that next level. The bottom line is real-time is going to make all this happen. 94% of our members say that NCRA should promote real-time as the clearly superior method. And this came out of the Writing Our Future survey. Our members, us, working reporters everywhere, say that We should be promoting real-time as the superior method. And 28% of judges surveyed out of the stenographic opportunities in the court study said that the most important steps that reporters can take to enhance their role in the courtroom of the future is to provide real-time. Now, 28% may not seem like a lot, but that was in the overall survey, and it was a check what ones you feel it's important. But of all of them, real-time was the highest. The next closest percentage was 19%, and that judges felt that reporters should provide access for e-filing and e-case management systems. That can also be achieved by real-time. So our clients in the official arena, the judges, the courts, feel that real-time is what stenographic reporters should be doing. So why do reporters provide real-time? We embarked on a survey just this month in February of 2,000 reporters. And you had a choice. Are you a real-time reporter? You had this set of questions. Are you not a real-time reporter? You had this set of questions. Of the reporters that do provide real-time, 63% said they do it in order to save on transcription time. And I will say, you all received a copy of this. And at the end of the day, and I will touch on this more a little bit later, each state that's in attendance today will receive a jump drive that has a copy of this presentation, as well as other resources, and I'll touch on that later. And it is a whistle and a jump drive. So you'll get more information on that in a little bit. So what are the biggest benefits of real-time? Save on transcription time. And what's interesting to note is now 71% said that. So even if that was not their objective in providing real-time or doing real-time for themselves, 71%, the highest, noticed that that was the biggest benefit. I am going to turn it over now. Again, this is an all-inclusive program. It's still developing, and we're going to be touching on some things that we're going to provide along the way. And we're really just going to all wrap it up. But next, I'd like to turn it over to Tony.
And this is actually my favorite topic about real-time, because even if you've been writing real-time for 21 years like I have, I still have my anxious moments. What I've also discovered too in supervising court reporters is even the newer reporters, they learned real-time in school. They are doing it because we don't hire reporters unless they do real-time. They still get nervous. And so that seems to be a biggest obstacle. And when the survey was conducted that Sarah was talking about, for the non-real-time reporters, the number one issue for them about why they weren't providing real-time was 59% said others will see my errors, as in attorneys and judges, and my writing won't measure up. But what was interesting too is, again, the real-time writers that are now in existence, they said the same thing, that others would not see my errors and my writing wouldn't measure up. Reporters are funny people. I mean, we are good reporters because we take such pains with that transcript. But then, with real-time, you're turned around and you're told, okay, you don't have to be perfect. You can go ahead and make mistakes, and that's very hard for reporters to let that go because it's such drilled in us as far as, you know, producing that transcript. And when you take this PowerPoint presentation back and use it in working with your reporters in your state, you can see that we address a lot of the no one is perfect. And I'm not going to read these slides to you. I want to talk more about my experience with the reporters and what some of the things that I have done that you can take back on this, to the state. And this one tip was really great. You know, most of the software, you can blank out the screen. And so if you're really scared at the beginning, and I even sometimes, depending on what environment I'm in that day, I get a little nervous when I'm starting, if I'm not familiar with the judge, et cetera. You can blank out the screen and then bring it back up once you calm down. I don't know of a reporter that doesn't have one moment of anxiety somewhere along the line. We just handle it better. So what we're going to encourage is that reporters become real-time capable, and a lot of that has to do with writing for yourself. And so when you're talking to your reporters in your state, really emphasize that. If they're in a situation where the ability to do the real-time feed is not there, the demand is not there, encourage them to write for themselves, because that's how most of the reporters started out who are now providing real-time to an end user. They started writing for themselves because your writing improves. I mean, the reporter's translation rate always seems to be an issue for the reporter, and so they started writing for themselves. That way, nobody's watching over their shoulder. They can work on their writing. It's really amazing how fast your writing improves. When I started real-time 21 years ago, the concept of writing for yourself did not exist. That had not come into the vernacular yet. And I had considered myself a pretty good writer when I started real-time. And what I found was within 3 months, my editing time had shot down to 50%. I mean, it was amazing how fast my writing improved, because it's very easy to do that when you have that screen in front of you. So real-time writers under this survey, the average of their accuracy level is 84%. And I made that comment last night if you watched or listened to my Ignite presentation. This myth out there that says you have to be 98 or 99% translation rate in order to provide real-time really is a myth. My judges in my court love it. And back in the early 90s when I was working with the judges and explaining to them what they should expect from the reporters and that type of thing, and I shared with them how reporters get really nervous, and it's sort of like writing in your underwear. The judges always see the perfect transcript, and yet now you're going to see, that maybe it doesn't start out quite as perfect because the computer, I always blamed it on the computer, because the computer makes mistakes, that kind of thing. And one time one of the judge, but it works, oh yeah, computer, okay. One of the judges made the comment to me, he said, any lawyer or judge who's read more than 2 transcripts knows that once in a while reporters don't get every word. So I think a lot of it is what we put on ourselves versus what the end user puts on ourselves. And this is so true. Most really what you need to tell your reporters is just do it. Just get comfortable with the CAT software, get comfortable with hooking up. That in itself will go a long way for them to be ready to provide real-time when the opportunity arises. And as I touched on, you do become a better writer. It is amazing. Again, when I started real-time, none of this was really known at the time. I think in the state of California where I'm at, we had 3 other real-time writers at the time. I was searching for real-time writers just to get some encouragement and consolation during that period of time. And that's what they all said too, is how amazed they were and how their writing got so much better and their editing time got so much shorter. And so nowadays the climate is much better for real time in the sense of people understand it more, the end user understands it more, but it is a matter of having a conversation with a judge, having a conversation with an attorney, so they so they understand what it is. Because it was interesting, I did depots for the first 9 years. I go into court thinking this is going to be great. There's a judge here every day. These attorneys are here every day. They really understand what we do because they're working with the reporter every day. I was shocked. I mean, they don't understand. I mean, I worked with judges for 10 years, 15 years. They sort of get it, but they really don't understand what goes on, in the background with us. And that really comes out when reporters are providing real time. And I talked about this last night too. If you have a CSR, if you have your RPR, you can be, if your translation rate is 85, 89%, 91%, you can do real time. As my judge said, and I shared this last night too, he says, we don't need to see every word as a perfect English word. He says, we're hearing it, we remember it. Even if 50% of the words are gone, I can still remember what was said by just reading what was there, and it's still 100% better than no real time at all. Our judges are addicted to the real time, and I can share some stories later on by what that meant. So really, what I have noticed with reporters in talking about real time and talking about the psychological aspect of it is it really is us. It is us that determines whether we're going to do well at it, whether we're not going to do well at it. It's really, each individual and how they approach it. If you know, you go in, it's going to be tough, not tough, I didn't use the wrong word, it's not going to be tough, but yeah, there's going to be the nerves. There's going to be the questions, there's going to be times where you're just, everything seems to be out of control. But what I tell my reporters is this, and I've told this to judges too, the real time is going to be is only going to be as good as the surroundings. In other words, judge, you need to control the courtroom. If people are talking at the same time, if some witness is talking even faster than I am, that's going to affect the real time. And because I'm in a state that's licensed, my code says I must get it down every word, and I must be able to produce that transcript. It doesn't say I must get perfect real time. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so if you see the real time, the words are not coming up, there's all sorts of weird things happening, you know that there's an issue in the courtroom. That is your clue that something's going on that's causing the reporter to have problems with that real time. Because just like when we write real fast, we can read our writing, nobody else can. Well, that's the way it is with real time. And so when I started thinking, okay, really, I know when everything's going well in the courtroom, my real time's really good, amazingly. And then I made the connection with when it's not going well in the courtroom, yeah, that affects the real time. So that's what reporters, need to look at. And what I have also done too with my newer reporters is they come in and they're doing real time. And I didn't really think about this at first because I'm so used to doing real time, and I thought, oh, these kids get it in school, they're used to it. They have the same anxieties that we all did. They're still nervous. They're still wondering if it's only them. They're wondering what else does everybody do. And so what I started doing in my court is once a month during lunch, we all brought our lunches, and we had what we called a real-time gab fest. And we would just talk about real-time issues. They would bring up, this happened to me, how would you handle it? I'm really having this issue, what do you suggest? The experienced reporters would, share their, war stories. And what it really did for those newer reporters is it made it normal. They got that they weren't alone. They thought that they were the only ones having issues with this thing or the issues with this part of the real time. And knowing that they could, number one, have these get-togethers, but number two, they realized that they could come and talk to any reporter. And I really think that when you go back to your states, I would suggest try to do something where there's smaller groups or even one-on-one. Have a reporter who's been reporting real time for a while, mentor a reporter that is getting ready to do it or is just started doing it. That handheld holding is going to make an amazing difference on reporters taking that plunge and sticking with it. So that's about it. And if you have any questions, as I said, write them down, and I will be around. I love to talk. So, and let's see. Yes,
I just wanted to say that one of your comments, I have asked the vendors for years that when we reach 300 words a minute, wouldn't you like it to turn back to all steno? That way they know they're talking too fast. Yeah. They haven't given it to me yet. Okay. The following couple of sections will show you the kinds of things that we will teach you to do quickly and with help. We will not go into depth on these items. However, know that the information is available to all of you, whether it is you, whether it is a reporter in your state, no matter who, there is help available on these items.
Excuse me, could you move the screen, tip it back?
You.
Oh, you really don't want to see my face. Look at the screen. All right. This slide really has to do with a judge. This had to do with a judge that had really never seen real time before. That while they see the that while we see the 5% that is not being translated or translated incorrectly, the non-court reporter is seeing the 95% that is correct, okay? And Sue Terry has a very good example of a less than perfect court reporter, and I would like Sue to just tell this story quickly, if you all don't mind.
Yeah, I was mentoring a lady in Ohio whose name will remain nameless. And the first time she came to my home. She had this mass of cables. You've all seen it. None of the cables were the right cables. And it took some convincing to convince her that none of those cables were the right cable. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, this may be the one that I can't help. But you know what? I stuck with it. Writing-wise, the lady was not that bad, but her dictionary was really in bad shape because nobody had ever really sat down with her and taught her how to input things correctly into the dictionary and how to look for things. And I won't make the story long. Basically, she really worked at it, and her judge absolutely fell in love with her real-time. She is a way less than a perfect writer, but when she writes real-time, it's pretty good. Not because she's a great writer, but because somebody sat with her, helped her to know what to put in her dictionary. And a few months later, we were at, some of the OCRA leaders were at the Court Technology Conference, and her judge looked me up and said, I want to thank you for helping so-and-so because I absolutely love the real time. The day that she showed up at my home with a mass of cables and arguing with me about having the right things, etc., I wouldn't have given her really about a 10% chance. She did it. So I think anybody can do it.
And just a quick little story, what got me started, and we're not here to tell all our personal stories, sorry, Sarah, but we had a reporter in our office that he'd take 10 words and abbreviate it P, and he was doing real time, and I thought, heck, if he's doing real time, why can't I? You know, so there are a lot of us out there that are doing real time and successfully. But anyway, to go on, gone are the days when you must rid your personal dictionary of conflicts. CAD softwares are doing a lot of the work for us through training of CAT vendors. We have CAT clips now and tutorials offered by the different vendors. You can become a better reporter literally overnight. And why wait until after the job to do the transcript? A few searches beforehand, you create a job dictionary, and you will save so much time and add money to your pocket. And time is money, right? It's very valuable to me. Excuse me. Heck with it. Okay. And it has been said that if you have a computer and a steno machine and you can learn how to make a connection between the two, you really are real-time capable. The computer is the major player in providing real-time to yourself and others when the point comes. The main computer does not need to be expensive. I recently purchased a notebook computer from Staples on sale for under $400. Years ago, I would have never suggested that, but computers have really come a long way. Almost any computer now that you buy off the shelf can do real time. And what you will need, USB ports, it says here a minimum of 3, but know that there are other alternatives available. We are just suggesting this. You need a good sound card, an external mic, and you really don't even need a CD-ROM anymore. But what I do suggest is that you check your CAT vendor requirements because they all vary, and they really know best what you need, and they're there to help you. All you have to do is give them a call. All right, again, as I said, it doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't need to be complicated. Okay, take everything you do in your everyday court reporting career and make one change at a time. Okay, and that's it for me.
I'm going to be touching on just some of the hardware that you're going to need. This can be a little bit daunting, but I would guarantee you probably have about 98% of what you are going to need. You have your writer, you have your laptop, your cable probably came with your writer, so, you know, it's pretty much a personal thing as to the type of equipment you're going to need. There is assistance for each piece of equipment. Vendors and NCRA's Tech Eval Committee have produced videos to aid in setting the equipment up. Through Train, we will have a group or a network of people that will come to you in a small group setting and teach you how to use the equipment that you have. Starting with cables, put your cables together, verify that they work. You want to leave them assembled, replace broken clips and licorice cables, which I didn't realize that's what licoricing was. It's when your cables get all kinked, and I'm the queen, obviously, of licorice cables because I'm one of those people that throws everything in my bag, but I am going to make a concerted effort now to wrap my cables and keep them correct. You want to be organized as you can be. I still think I'm organized, but anyway. A serial port. Many people still have a serial port on the back of their laptop. They are fewer, you know, further in between at this point, but, you know, they are still there. If you do not have a serial port, it's not a problem. USB to serial adapters are very inexpensive. You can run right to Staples and pick one up for like $30 to $50. They do have a high degree of acceptance. The one little thing I'll throw in here is they usually you have to install a driver, so you're going to want to make sure you put that driver either on a jump drive, or even if you keep it right on your desktop, so you can put it on an attorney's jump drive and just give it right to him. There are disadvantages, though. They are unstable, and you can have issues sometimes with your power saving settings within your USB. Sometimes they'll shut down to save power. I know that's a little advanced, and I don't want to get too advanced, but that is an issue. Also, sometimes it could require an admin to install. Some attorneys, when they're given their laptops, they don't always have the clearance to just put things, you know, whatever they want on their laptops. You know, the big question at times is wireless versus, you know, cables. I'm a wireless person. When I first started doing real-time for my trials, it would take me hours to tape down all the cords. You have to do what's best for you. I mean, some people also just think the cords are the greatest because they never fail, and they are really, really reliable. But it's pretty much a personal choice, and you know, once you discuss it and decide what's right for you, you know, it'll become pretty clear. I mean, if you're a freelancer and you're going from job to job, you're going to want to get yourself a Stenocast because it's just easier, I think. Why wireless? Wireless has the refresh feature, and there's wireless from your machine to your laptop. Personally, I use a cable because I have issues, but I have issues for some reason going from my writer to my laptop, and I don't know why. But there's wireless real-time to output to clients as well. As I said, the Stenocast, and you can also you use a router and create a personal network. This is even a little over my head. I've never done it, but I'm hoping that people here are going to teach me how to do it because I'm definitely interested in learning. Bluetooth is a great option to connect from your writer to your computer and provide a real-time connection for yourself. It's a secure communication between peripheral and paired device. Paired is a process of authorizing a code connection, and discoverability settings, you have to set it up to discover it, but you don't want to leave your discovery mode on. For Bluetooth serial connections, COM port is assigned, becoming a cable replacement, so no more cables, and you don't have to worry about the licoricing. Okay, the Stenocast X7 Bluetooth for real-time. The Stenocast Red refreshes, and then that way the attorneys get all of the, your edited, all the edits you make then go to the attorney, and that's a really, really nice feature. You can also connect up to, every court reporter's dream, you can connect up to 14 attorneys And the multi-line block, you know, this is another option, and cables, like I said, cables are really reliable. And it does, you know, I don't know if you've ever used one, but I've never had one fail. But it looks archaic, but the serial hookups for real-time are used, you know, day in and day out, and they are reliable. And many courthouses are even wired. My courthouse is actually wired. They have cables running under the floors, and you can just hook in that way as well. So, well, that's it for me.
First of all, I just want to say that it's an honor to be on this committee. I think that we could be changing the future of court reporting as we know it today. Hopefully we can get all the reporters in the entire country doing real time. We know they can do it. And what we're working on is kind of a manual that will instruct them steps A, B, and C. Let's see. So we're trying to develop something like a TurboTax that would be more of a turbo real-time, so that it's just kind of a step-by-step guide, so that if you're on a particular software, you go to this page. If you're on a particular software, you go to this other page. If you want to hook up for yourself, if you want to hook up for attorneys, real-time streaming, and so forth. So over the course of the next few months, this possibility is going to be explored by our group as well as the NCRA staff. And if it's feasible, we're going to make that happen. Oops, I'm going the wrong way here. Setting up your computer for real time. Again, most of the stuff that I'm going to address is talking about this turbo real-time manual. We want to be able to show people at the most basic level how to hook up your computer, all the way from Ethernet cables to the wireless and so forth. So setting up your computer for real time is just one example of how great a step-by-step guide would be. Your computer, whether it's Mac or Windows, you need to set up your CAT software, the settings for real-time, COM ports, and so forth. You want to do that, let's check out the Turbo site. NCRA also has a real-time troubleshooting guide that I would recommend that you recommend to all of the people in your states. It will pretty much direct them every step of the way on how to troubleshoot whatever hookup problems you're having. I myself set up Stenocast, and I bring 2 netbooks. Actually, I bring 3 netbooks with me to every job that I do, and for every single deposition that I'm in, I set up not only my CAT software, but I also have a bridge computer as well, because I always want to see my scrolling, and at the same time I want to be able to edit from my CAT software. In addition to that, I have 2 extra netbooks, and I always offer at the beginning of the deposition, would you like to hook up? And if they say they've had troubles hooking up their computer, first of all, we're going to have this manual so we can hammer that out. But if we can't get them hooked up, we've got the extra netbooks. I never want to be limited to not providing real time just because I couldn't get hooked up. So this guide, again, is going to be about setting up the computer for real time. Yes, question.
The troubleshooting guide that you mentioned, is it available digitally on the website, or how do we get that?
We will discuss that a little bit later. No, at this time, but we will discuss that later. So this manual that we're talking about is going to show about how to set up the computer for real time, the power options, how to disable screensavers and hibernation, a lot of the basic stuff that we've already done. One of my challenges is that we've done all this with our particular computers, and so I'm not real good at training people how to do what I don't have to do anymore. That's why we're going to have this guide. It's going to talk about major options when setting up your computer, and it just helps for everyday computer usage as far as disabling the hibernation and setting up drivers for transferring your dictionary, etc. It's going to talk about Windows Device Manager and how you get to Device Manager. I never even really knew what Device Manager was, and I was supposedly I was a real-time reporter and didn't know some of this stuff, so it was a little bit humbling and embarrassing. But anyway, so we're going to have this guide on how to expand the plus sign, basic stuff, and the fact that you may need to make note of a COM port, that's assigned to a particular USB serial port and so on. What is a serial port? What is an Ethernet cable? So on and so forth. Specific directions in that vein. Again, very, very simple. Again, Windows Device Manager and reassigning the COM ports, we addressed that. Sometimes you need to reassign. I just found out last night that some of the viewing softwares won't accept double-digit COM ports. And I've been through the Real-Time System Administrators program, and I actually passed it, and now I've had issues trying to set up a second computer. It's really odd, but I found out last night that might have been my problem, so I may need to reassign a COM 10 down to a COM 2 or a COM 3. Still need to work on that. Power settings. Again, almost everything that I'm talking about here has to do with this Turbo Real-Time Guide. How do you change the power settings to run at full power and never on battery? You don't want the USB setting to go to sleep. How to go to Device Manager. Some of this stuff is a little bit redundant, but we want to make sure that we cover it from all angles so that everybody can understand what we're talking about. Power settings can make or break your real-time connection. It also helps if you use your computer and a USB connection for cameras and cell phones, printers, etc. Real-time receive scenarios. This is for the viewing computer that the attorneys would use. Or you might set it up just for yourself, the reporter, or for the multiple people and so on. Again, Regina touched on the rapid refresh. Well, we're going to talk about that. What does refresh mean? Do you want to learn for yourself? If you want to set up your gear for learning the real-time yourself. That's what I did. I started off by setting up my second computer, which ran Bridge, so that I could first of all become more familiar with how you hook up those connections. And the more you hook up for yourself, even just that second computer, when the attorneys start asking for real-time hookup, you'll know how to do that. Let's see. So then there's the litigation software support software. We've got free programs, Bridge, CaseView, NetReader, LiveNote, and then pay programs, CaseView Net for the reporter, and LiveNote again. Also Summation. And these are litigation softwares that the attorneys would access. CaseView and or CaseView Net by Stenograph. It's a real-time transcript viewer software, serial import from any real-time feed, so on and so forth. For the reporter to know that for the client, the viewer is free, and they can get the whole transcript even if they're late to the deposition or the proceedings. They've got the rapid refresh and so on. That's Stenograph's version. We have other CAT vendors, of course. The next one is Bridge. So that's tantamount to CaseView Net. It's, again, a free real-time viewing software. It supports the CaseView protocol and is compatible with all modern CAT systems. That's just Eclipse's version. There's also ProCat and others as well. Applications to receive the real-time feed. There's, again, LiveNote, which is a transcript management software. Summation, again, a transcript and document management software. All the different options. We need to just list out to everybody what the various options are. What is Bridge? There's Denoto from ProCat. So the question is, which should you choose? Again, in the manual, which should you choose? What's going to work best for you? What are you comfortable with? Ask around. What are your peers using? What does your judge want to use? Your clients. What I've found with the viewing software is that the attorneys aren't particularly interested, at least in my experience, in learning really the nuts and bolts of how to annotate, how to mark text. They really want to just view the real-time. Something else that I think is really intimidating for newer real-time reporters is that they think that the attorneys are going to be glued to the screen, reading every single word. Well, it was that way 10 and 15 years ago when it was new. The attorneys have seen it, So it's not novel to them. When they look at the screen, it's really just to look for a certain passage. So you can reassure the people that you're working with that it's not that intimidating. They're not going to be glued to the screen. They're just going to look at it from time to time. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off. I used to be petrified when the attorneys would be just glued to the screen. Also, you want to offer training sessions. Let the clients and judges use all the options and let them decide. There are different needs and wants out of the various softwares. So I've got a little diagram here. It's a little bit antiquated, but basically you start with the court reporter on the far left, and the reporter's got their CAT system, and then you can go from there to a multi-line block, or you can access the internet, and now we can do streaming and so forth. You can have local attorneys, you can have attorneys remotely, you can have attorneys local that are connected with attorneys remotely, and in between they're doing some IMing and communicating back and forth and saying, hey, why don't you ask this question, so on and so forth. I think most of us are all familiar with the different possibilities. What we want to do is have this manual that will train the others. We want everybody up to speed. Once again, the possibilities are endless. Not only can we do real-time in court, in depositions, we can do CART, we can do remote CART. There are a lot of different avenues that we can provide services on and generate income. The one thought I wanted to leave you with, a saying that I heard a long time ago, dig the well before you need the water. Be prepared, okay? I was a Boy Scout. I wasn't a very good Boy Scout, but their motto was, be prepared. I think it was 3 fingers. I wasn't all that prepared coming out of school, but dig the well before you need the water. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I like that quote Ron ended with. I kind of had one too that I wanted to share. I heard somebody say technology is a little bit like heaven. It's where we all want to go, just not yet. I'm going to start with the be prepared slides. There's nothing worse as a real-time reporter, especially in the freelance area, as getting to a job 15 minutes ahead when you're supposed to be real-time, and you've got to be there early. If you have a problem and you want to troubleshoot something, you don't want to troubleshoot it while they're sitting around, beating their thumbs on the table. So you do have to be early. And be redundant. I have abandoned the cables. I don't even carry any cables. I have some at home just to help other people with, but I bought my first Stenocast X7, I think probably a month after it came out. I'm still using that. I also bought a red just to be redundant in case it ever fails. That red is still in the package. I'm still waiting on the 14 connections. If I get the 14 connections, it's coming out of the package. But so far, my 6 have been fine. But I'm still using the original X7, and it has never, one time, in all real time I do, never failed. So it works for me. If you're using cords, you have to be really careful about your cords. There's crossover cords, there's regular cords, and I don't want you to glaze over while we talk about this, but one way to make sure that you have the right cords is, most of them are black. Get a silver Sharpie and write on that cord what it is. And then you'll know. If it gets separated from the little ends, you know what that cord is. The next thing is you got to be prepared, carry, as I said, the backup cables. You can even have them in your car. They don't necessarily have to go in your bag. Just keep some in your trunk. Throw them in the trunk of your car in some kind of a bag. And then just, knowing that you're prepared, just breathe easy. You can have fun with real time. You got to learn to laugh at yourself as they're laughing at you. I've had a few situations, and I'll tell you about them. I was doing a deposition of a health department inspector, and it was real time, and the question asked of him was, what was your area of responsibility when you first began working for the county? And his answer was tick control. However, I drug the K. and it wasn't pretty. And everybody's laughing, and I looked down, in horror. And then later on a break, one of the attorneys came over to me who knew this inspector. He was an older guy, and he said, all I could think of was Howard standing at somebody's door saying, I'm from the county and I'm here to inspect your... Okay, so they laugh with us. It can actually provide some light moments. Ron mentioned, they don't anymore sit and stare at your screen. I had fun with a guy who was sitting second chair, and he was fairly new. And we had been on this case for several years, very big environmental case. And he too, he was new, so he's staring at the screen as I'm writing. So every time the witness would say a one-word answer of yes or no, I'd write the opposite. And then real quickly, as I would see him, kind of get nervous, I would hit a stroke and change it. And eventually, he looked up, and he looked at me kind of funny. And I knew the participants pretty well. And he went, and I just smiled like that, So you can have fun with your real time. One thing, too, I always tell reporters, good reporters write so they can make no steno come out in their files. That's the goal as a good reporter. But you know what? The really seasoned good reporter that's already gotten there does the opposite. They write to make steno come up. So if I have time and the word malacologist comes up and it's not in my dictionary, I might strike it 3 different ways. I know it's going to come up in steno once. I'm going to strike it 3 times if there's time, because I want to define it any way I might possibly write it. So, think about getting those things into your dictionary. Troubleshooting, the usual suspects. I don't want to spend too much time on the technical part because we are going to have a lot of videos. Some of them are already up. The manual, the RSA manual, is great. But what if, just what if, in your state you have a mentor? It isn't always easy to get a hold of somebody at your cat vendor when you need them. If you're on the East Coast and it's 9 o'clock in the morning and your cat vendor's on the West Coast. So make sure that you have some mentors. In Ohio, we've been really fortunate. We have, I don't know, Bruce, do you know how many people, 10, 15 people that have said, yeah, I'll give you my cell phone number, and, one person might be in a depot, but you've got somebody else to fall back on. If you have an agency in the TRAIN program, we're asking everybody to help, not just individuals, not just the state. Agencies can play a big part in helping us make this happen. How can an agency help? An agency can have some of these little small group training programs. And don't just include your agency, include any reporters in the area that might want to get some help in the small groups. A group of friends, pick a topic and let somebody speak on that topic. Anything having to do with real time. Bulletproof your troubleshooting. Start with just one netbook. I know I'm the last speaker here, so a lot of what I was going to say has already been said. But start with the one netbook, and I tell reporters, you know what, just do it for yourself for a month. Don't offer it to anybody, but promise me this, that you'll go back to square one. If you do it for 3 days in a row and it works perfect, and on the 4th day something happens and you freeze up and you just decide to close it and put it away, you got to start your month over. You need to do it for 1 month and hook up, and it works every day. Then you are ready to provide it. You are confident. It'll give you the confidence you need. It'll also allow you to work out the things that can happen, like your power management settings not being correct, et cetera. It's not going to happen when you're providing it to a judge or real time who's looking to it. All those issues will get worked out in that month or so that you're doing it for yourself. Agencies. I'd love to see an agency purchase maybe 2 or 3 laptops for your agency. They're a couple $100 now, and loan them to your reporters. Tell your reporters, you know what, if you'll do it, we'll loan you this for a month till you can make sure that you can do it and feel like you want to do it. And then they might be willing to purchase their own. I'm not saying give it to them, but have them available for them to play with and troubleshoot. And people from my state can tell you, I can't even count how many netbooks I have because they're always loaned out to somebody. I know at least 15. And we've taken them when we have state issues, and we've gone to some, I've loaned them. They always come back just fine. Agencies could do the same. If you know that there's some issue going on in one of your counties or areas, loan them some netbooks or some loaners so that they can go in, your state can go in and help provide the real time in a setting where you walk in and just wow them with 14 netbooks set up. The RSA manual is the great place to start. And if you're serious about real timing, you're going to need it, so buy it now. Do you need it immediately? No, but why not? Because eventually you're going to need it. And we have a great bit of news. Robin, this is for you that asked the question earlier. They're offering us a 10% discount on it if you buy it before March 1st. You don't have to put in a code or anything. It's already built into the software. And so it'll automatically give you that 10%. And by the way, Robin, I'm going to donate one for our Clark State. And I challenged Bruce and Sarah to donate one to the schools in the northern part of Ohio. So you will get your manual. Hopefully the people up at the north will get them too.
Oh, all right.
We'll talk.
Okay, real-time writer advice. Learn how your software works. That is so important. You do definitely have a cleaner record when you're doing real-time. And preparing before the assignment. There's so many places you can prep. There's a site called glossarus.com. It's a wonderful site that if you know that you're going to be doing a nuclear scientist tomorrow, you can go on there and type in nuclear or just about any time. I found it the first time because I was doing a maritime job and I'd never done any maritime work. And so I went to this site and I typed in maritime, and it popped up tons of glossaries for me. I was able to just sit in that glossary and go right down through and do my prep, and it made all the difference in the world. The second time I used it, I went from one extreme to the other. I had one on pig farming, so I did pig farming, and there was actually a glossary for swine. So agencies, how can you help the real-time reporter? You often have a lot of information that never gets to us, and it would be helpful to have that information. If you have a notice, make sure we get the notice. If you have previous depots that have been done, send us an E-Trans so we can scan down through that and look and get the terms. Another thing that will really help in the real work that I've done with real-time reporters, they always say, I don't like to do real time because I do great the whole job, except I can never get the appearances on a video. They say them, they're quick. So I recommended to them to write the word firm with an asterisk and just define it as parentheses, insert appearance here. It looks like something our software just does. So rather than them see all that, steno coming up in the file, they'll just see something that they kind of think the software is going to do. Insert firm here. As you go on, and we're going to have tons more videos for you on this. It's going to make it easy for you. As you start out your real time, start out slow and then work towards more lofty goals, let's say. Quotes. A lot of reporters say, oh, I don't write my punctuation that well, and we're going to put some stuff up for you that might help you. Like, we know that there's always a quote coming when they say, the document says, so write says with an asterisk and define that in your dictionary as the word says, followed by a comma, an open quote, and an up cap. And so you're not really having to write in the punctuation, you're just using that key word, that phrase written a little differently, says, with the asterisk. You can do the same thing with reads or titled. Get that all in. But you know what? You don't even have to worry about that for a long time. But those are things that we're going to have on the website to help you with those kind of things. Be sure and look at this one. I was actually a little angry because I didn't think it was fair. I had to have the only slide with an error in it. How did I get chosen for this slide? But that's okay. Practice, practice, practice is true. But you can pick some practice time that can be downtime for you. I had, a long time ago, I don't know, I've lost it since, but I don't really need it now. I had a $10 Webster's Electronic Dictionary that I bought at Staples. And I loaded it on my computer. And lo and behold, one day, I was waiting on a witness that was going to be a half hour late, so we were just kind of sitting around. And I was playing with it. And I look, and there was some really neat things in it. One was, it had all the common chemical elements, had them all in a list. So I just sat and I was stroking all those and defined them, and there's the spellings right there and put them in. It also had a list of common given names of men and women. So you could go down and put all these names in your dictionary. And would I sit and do that otherwise? No. But when I had a minute and I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs anyway, I thought, I'm just going to stroke all this. So you can find ways to use your time. Practice. Another thing that reporters say, I hate videos because they always say, okay, now, all right, at the beginning, and I can't get them all in, then I have to go back and put them in. And so we're going to have on the website some tips like, if write your question symbol follow with a K and define that as question OK period. And you can do the same if they say now all the time. Question mark OU, define that as question now, comma. It gets all those little things in there very quickly without you having to go back and fill them in when they're a video. I have one story I'd like to tell, and I think you'll find it interesting. Back in the date, I looked on the letter last night because I wanted to see what the letter was. Back in 1994, I was working for an agency, and they called me to do a 2-week arbitration. And the attorneys were coming in from San Francisco, which didn't really at the time mean much to me. But my software company had called me and asked me to beta test some software. And it was some real-time software. So I said, okay. So I thought, oh, great, a two-week thing, that's a great time. So I drug along a couple of computers, and back in 1994, believe me, they weren't that light. They were pretty darn heavy. I drug those computers along, and on the first day, I said to the attorney that was from San Francisco, I'm testing some software. Have you used real-time? Would you like real-time feeds for this? And he was from San Francisco. He had, in 1994, very large firm. He had no idea what it was. I was shocked that he didn't know what it was. So I explained to him what it was, and I said, it does cost a little more, but because I'm beta testing this software, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give it to you today, and if you want it the rest of the time, then I'll charge for it. And at the end of the day, if you tell me you don't think it's helpful, then I won't charge you for today. But if you want it the other 2 weeks, then I'm going to charge you for the whole 2 weeks. He said, okay, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. So he absolutely wanted it. We did it for 2 weeks. And at the end of that 2 weeks, during that 2-week period, I had a few reporters in the office when we'd meet in there, and they were like, I can't believe you drag along 2 computers. I can't believe you do that. Why would you do that? almost, not angry at me because we were all friends, but just kind of, they were like baffled. Why would you want to do that? And you know what? At the end of the 2 weeks, I went on to the next case, whatever it was, and oh gosh, maybe 2 weeks after that, I get a call from the agency owner. Said, I need you to stop in after your job today because I got a letter I want to discuss with you. And, you know, that's never good. I was so nervous that day, and it was actually kind of mean the way they did it, but they thought it was funny. So I stop in the office after work that day, you know, thinking I'm probably going to get fired. Who knows what's going to happen, you know? And I stop in the office, and that attorney from San Francisco, who I'd never seen before in my life until that job, wrote a 2-page letter to the agency saying how wonderful it was having the real time, how it helped them in their case. If anybody wants to see the letter, I'll show it to you. The last paragraph said, we haven't been able to find anyone to provide the service for us in San Francisco, so we would like you to accompany us in February to Europe to cover the depots. Guess what? The reporters were no longer saying, why did you drag those 2 computers along? And now I want to end the story on a really funny note, because about 3 days, they bought my ticket ahead. Of course, you know, they purchased my ticket, 2-week advance purchase. And about 3 days before I was scheduled to leave, I had a very bad medical problem, and I had to go into the hospital the day before I was supposed to leave for surgery. And my only thought was, oh my God, they've purchased this ticket, and now I'm not going to be able to go, and I got to find somebody that will do the real time for them. So I called a friend of mine that I knew had a passport, and this was 1994, because his wife was from France, and I also knew he was a great real-time reporter, and I wanted them to have the best. So Mark Kislingberry went and did the job for me. And he did, of course, a bang-up job. And the law firm sent me a dozen roses and refused to take payment for either Mark's ticket or my ticket, paid for both. So it's a great, you know, I think it's a great real-time story. And that's the kind of things that happen when you do real-time. What do you do when you're ready for the next step and you want to start providing it? We're going to have lots of help available for you. You've heard all the reasons why. A lot of the reasons I had have already been stated up here. I know Bruce has heard this, and Sarah, we've kind of talked about this. Those horrible moment strokes where you just, you know, they're reading from a document. You know you can't get it. You can't stop them every single time. We want to, and we probably should, but every reporter in here knows that there are occasions where you miss a few words of the quote or whatever. You can put a stroke in your dictionary for that, too. In fact, if I could figure out how to turn my screen blue, I'd turn my screen blue for that, so it looked like to them. But you know, you can put something in that lets them know, I know that I've got to check this. You can write check in capital letters and, you know, define that, or there's any number of ways. They know we put those in. They know. It's okay. Get confident in your speed. The real time will make you a better writer. You see everything. And I think even after you get over the nerve factor in that month that you're doing it, you'll be confident enough after that month. You'll be writing a little bit faster, and you'll be so confident to be able to provide it. We're all going to have those jobs, too, I think this is what scares reporters the most. I know it's what scares reporters the most. Well, what if I get a job and it's really technical and really hard? Again, I had a job that was at the Millstone. It was about the Millstone nuclear power plant, and it was going to be an arbitration, and they wanted real time, and I was just dying knowing that was going to be horrible. And I had experts that I didn't even know what they were, and I wrote them down last night. I had a malacologist, an ichthyologist, a chronobiologist, and 2 nuclear physicists in the first 3 days. And it was real time. Was it great? No, it was probably like the worst real time I've ever written. You know what? At the end of every day, they came over and they said, "Thank you so much for sticking with it. We know this is really horrible." They weren't upset. They were thankful and grateful to get that real time, because most of it they could read. And by the second day, most of it was coming up. First day, not so much. But what you got to remember is that most jobs are not like that. Most real-time jobs are not. You are going to have them. But you know what? Think about other jobs in hospitals, if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor. Every job has stressful days, and we're no different than any other profession. We just have to learn to deal with those. Always work on your dictionary. You should know before you write something whether it's going to come up or not, and I think most of you probably do. Most reporters probably do. Non-real-time writers. In the survey, we had people say, the question was, I would go through the effort of becoming real-time capable if I knew that. Quote, "It's all organized and set up in a way that makes sense to me and does not seem overwhelming." That's exactly what we're trying to do with the mini videos the Tech Eval Committee and your real-time task force is putting together. We're going to try to make it easy for you to go in. If you're a beginner, you click here. If you're intermediate or advanced, you click here, and eventually get you through all of the steps. And to find a mentor in your state that will help you. I would go through the effort of becoming real-time capable if I knew that. One of the answers was, I would not be judged. When you have your real-time grassroots training, again, that gives reporters the camaraderie of working with each other and knowing we all feel the same way, and how do we educate better. Another was, I would go through the effort of becoming real-time capable if I knew that. Quote, "Courtroom participants will be understanding of their role in my producing effective real-time, that real-timing is more than just reporters' endeavor." And again, back to the grassroots training. If you go in to help as your state association, 1, 2, 3, 5 reporters in an official setting, it gives you a little access to their judge. And Bruce and Sarah were you with us? Yeah, you were there. We went to a county and we got to speak with not just the reporters, but with their judges. And so we were able to say things that the reporters might not feel comfortable saying in, you've got to help when you see the attorneys talking fast. It's really stressful on the reporter. They don't want to say that, so you'll be able to help them feel confident in speaking with their judges. I would go through the effort of becoming real-time capable if I knew that. Quote, "I have personal help. I'd love to have someone sit down with me one-on-one and show me the procedure to hook up, settings, etc. I've never been trained in that regard. I currently don't even own a laptop computer." Well, perhaps the agency in your area will have a loaner that they'll let you have. I do not currently have the funds to purchase a computer. My skills are better than they've ever been. So there we have a real-time reporter with good skills, and if he think they have good skills, they're probably really good, because most of us don't think we have good skills. So this is another example of the small group setting. Really, is this any different from before? Yes, we hope this training is going to be very different. This is a quote that came in. Bill Weber did an article for the Journal, I hope you all saw it, about real timing and how we want to get everybody going. And he forwarded to me, a reporter wrote to him and said, I didn't know where to turn. Just in a matter of an hour, Sue helped put me on the right path. I now have a game plan. Okay, I didn't do anything real special, guys, except to help her, walk her through a little bit. She had had a stenocast unit for, I believe she said, a year. She'd never been able to figure out how to put it all together. She gave me her phone number, and I'd like for you to hear from her. Let me give her a quick call, and I hope you'll be able to hear it. And states, what I want you to remember is that you don't have to go somewhere. You can help somebody wearing your slippers in your bedroom, if that's what it takes. We'll have the resources available to train you to do it, or anyone in your state. I logged on to her computer. I'll let her tell you. It'll be very quick. Okay.
Hello?
Christina,
Hi, Sue.
can you all hear? Christina, we're in the meeting, and I thought that it would be best coming from you. I was telling them that I was able to log onto your computer and help you with real time. I have a question for you. Did you even think that it was possible for somebody to help you from 700 miles away?
No, I didn't know what to expect, and I just knew I was making a last-ditch effort to reach out to another colleague to lead me in the right direction. And I was amazed to see what you could do from that far away.
Were you able, from watching what I did on your computer, were you able to learn from that too?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I almost think it was better because you were able to take control of my computer. And while you were scrolling around and making the changes, I could follow along, write down information for future reference. And when I had questions, I was able to stop you, ask you for clarification. And actually, I think it might have even been faster for you to take control of my computer because, as you went along, you were able to explain things to me.
And
So it made it very easy.
do you feel confident now that you can hook up?
I feel much more confident, much more qualified. Before doing this, I didn't have a game plan until I met you. So you put me on the right path.
Okay, thanks. We're running late. Thank you for sharing with
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Okay, bye.
Good luck.
An hour. It was maybe an hour of my time. I was at home. I told her it would have to be on a weekend when I was home. You all can do the same thing. And there's no, you know what? It helps you too because there's no better feeling than helping somebody else. You're not alone. We're going to have tons of information on the website. In fact, can we give them the website addresses?
It's on the jump drive.
Oh, the website addresses that we already have put up, some of the videos are live now, and they're on the jump drive. So be sure and click on them. There's going to be tons more coming. We're going to inundate you with help. You're not going to be in this alone. Do I have like 2 minutes? One last thing. I'd like to tell you about a couple experiences that we've had in Ohio. We have had some great things happen in our officials. We started our program to help officials, and quickly we had some freelancers contact us and said, we want some help too, we really want a real time. I have one particular group that I'm really proud of, and they started out to be about maybe 10 or 12. It's grown to, I think, around 20, Robin, am I right? Yeah, around 20 now. Started out with me coming in and helping them get their real-time equipment. We've had several meetings. First I helped them talk to them about what the equipment options were, and then they all went out and got their equipment. Then we met again to make sure all their equipment was working, that they could hook up. We did one-on-one and kind of role-playing kind of thing. And I'm so proud of them because you know what? They've taken it to the next level. They have this email group, and they now email each other, and they always include me on the email, which I appreciate. And so they're going into other technologies because of it. They're right now, the last one I saw was they're helping each other how to learn to proof on the iPad. And state leaders, I would also encourage you, Robin, would you stand just for a second? Robin's our instructor at Clark State College, and they have donated room for us very graciously. We don't pay for a room. They just have the room for us. Robin gets to attend, and her staff, and also the high-speed students. High-speed students get to kind of meet the reporters, and you know what? Agencies, we always say they don't come out prepared enough. This is a way to help the instructors in your state learn the same things that we're looking for them to do when they get into the field. So it's just a win-win situation, and I think that's it. Thank you.
You know, I'm really glad that I wanted Sue to kind of finish to give some stories, because really this all started, and you may be thinking the train, the hats, the whistles, this is kind of corny. But really, you're going to remember it. And that's the goal, is we want you to remember it. And this started with a program in Ohio and a couple other states, but in Ohio it was called BRATS, bringing real time around the state. And we can be a bunch of brats. It's something that's remembered, and it might be corny. And what's next for Train is each state will get the jump drive. We also have this available. We will have it available on a Dropbox. So if we do not have enough slides or jump drives, and or you want everybody in your state to have access to it, we can give you access on Dropbox. You can create your own Dropbox to share with your state members and other leaders, your board. But really, you need to take this home. This is what it is for. The jump drives contain, right now we have this PowerPoint. We want you to, if you have a annual seminar coming up, if you're planning for your fall seminar, plan a train presentation where you can let your members know we have this program available. We need volunteers, we need help, but we want to help you. If you have a question on real time, we can answer it, or NCRA's task force can answer it. We are here for you. There is also a list of all the state leaders, the current presidents in this state, their contact information, as well as which one of us task force members is assigned to the state. So that way, if you need assistance from other states, neighboring states, especially on the border states, border towns, you have that information. You have our contact information as well. You need to follow through on this, and we will also be following through. We have a document that's in the back. We would ask you to take it, that has links, and it is on the jump drive too, if you get the jump drive that Sue was talking about. That vendor links, links to NCRA's page that do have the videos already uploaded, some of them, and we will be uploading more, that walk you through exactly how to set up your computer, change your power settings, hook up if you're doing cables, hook up if you're doing Stenocast. We will walk you through that. We also have different vendor materials, different links, and this is all on the jump drive, and this stuff will be growing. We also need to hear back from the states that, hey, this is great, but we need this. We can develop that for you. You're not alone. We need all the assistance, and we all need to work together to get the materials out there for our reporters in our profession to grow. Also, what we will be doing, the current presidents in the room, do you remember receiving an email from us within the last 3 weeks concerning this program? Anybody? I know I received a couple of responses. We are reaching out to you, and really, you're probably going to get tired of getting emails from us. It's not going to stop. We need the state leaders to do this for us as well. We are asking each state to develop a real-time task force or committee in their state. Within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will be providing each of our state leaders and their boards a list of all the CRRs, CBCs, CCPs, real-time system administrators in your state. If they are not members of your state, that's okay. Maybe you can gain some new members if you contact them and ask them for assistance in helping to help our profession. We will also be developing articles for you to push out on news flashes that you do for your state newsletters. We will be developing articles for the JCR, and this all will be within the next month. We need to get this going, and we need to get this going soon. And we will be doing follow-up as far as, are you setting up sessions? Do you need assistance? Can we come to you and help you? Can we set up a web conference? Anything of that nature. And really, we all need to get on board. I mean, this is our profession, this is our livelihood. This is what we have been told, not only from each other, but from our clients, our judges, the public. They want the real time. This is the future. And we need to all help each other. And I know Sue is going to say exactly what she was going to say about the members. This does not come down to a member issue, and I'll let her tell you why.
Yeah, it doesn't, and I wanted to say this in mine, and I don't want to forget to say it. For state leaders, it's really tough getting members now. You know that. And Bill, would you stand up? Our state, I just want you to, if you want to talk to our state about how it's worked, see Bill or anybody from our state, Sarah, Bruce. It's the only thing that we've done that's brought in members. And how it brought in members to us is when the first group of freelancers contacted us and we talked about it on the board and said, well, we didn't really mean it. We really did it for the officials to kind of stop the flow of ER, DAR, but, you know, we got to accommodate the officials too. So we found out when we had this first meeting that there were a lot of them that came to the meeting that were not members of the association. So we talked about, gosh, you know, that really kind of makes you mad. But guess what happened? I mentioned that, you know, gee, I wish you were all members of the state or would at least consider it. When Sarah was working on the a bill that came along that we needed to raise some funds for, we had just had one of the Bratz meetings. Bill, do you know how many joined from that? I think there were 6, maybe 8 that joined, immediately joined the state association, and they took up a donation and donated $1,000, $1,200 to the legislative efforts. I don't know of anything else that gets that kind of activity. So I just wanted to say to state leaders, it can be very helpful. We don't give them any CE credits, so there's very little cost. We've made sure that we have it somewhere that's either free or one of them, I did rent a room, but it was at a Comfort Inn and it cost me $65 and an extra 10 for the coffee. So for $75, I provided the room because it was a little larger group. So you can do it and you can do it cheap. Now, the one that has it on a regular basis, everybody brings something. You know, they just kind of bring an hors d'oeuvre and they share during the thing. So you can do it cheaply. It doesn't have to cost.
Absolutely. And I'd like to close with a quote that really, it's appropriate here. That even, and it's Will Rogers' quote, I have to give credit, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. So thank you all for being here.